Hello, this is Jerry Zurek. This will be a brief, perhaps 15-minute introduction to the topic of the translation of Shakespeare's plays from page to stage to screen. The purpose of this talk is to anticipate some questions that students might have about whether a play, when it's translated to the screen, should be faithful to the play. And this is often expressed with the question or complaint that the person didn't like the play, didn't like the movie of one of Shakespeare's plays because it didn't seem as if it were taking place in Elizabethan England. It didn't seem old. It was set in modern dress, or it was set in Nazi Germany, or it was set in the 19th century. And this discrepancy bothers some students. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about the choices that a director makes when he or she decides to adapt a play for the screen. Much of what I'm going to say is based on ideas that are in an excellent new book called Shakespeare, Script, Stage, Screen. Now, the first thing that one has to remember is that a play is a verbal medium made up of words, lots of words. And to become a film, many of those words have to be cut, and the play has to be translated to become a visual medium. So I just would like to bring out some of the differences between plays and film. First idea is that the play is live. It's different from night to night. It can be adapted if a director or actor feels that something isn't working for the audience. Whereas once the film is in the can, it is fixed in time. The relationship of the audience to the play and the film is different. The play, the audience reaction can modify the performance. If actors are not connecting with the audience, they need to do something, or the audience tunes them out. So plays are communal events. There's an interaction between actors and audience. Whereas films, we sit in a movie theater or in our home, especially in a movie theater, in the dark. We're separate. Perhaps we're aware of the person next to us, but in general, it's a individual experience of you with the screen. When we're in the audience at a play, we can look from the left to the right. We can watch something that's happening over in the corner. Sometimes that is intentional, sometimes it's unintentional. Whereas the film director can control our gaze. Space is handled much differently. Play, the action is on a stage, and the audience is always aware of the entire stage. The main resource of a play is its language, and sets, and these two resources can transport the audience to various locations. If we were reading Antony and Cleopatra, we would be going back and forth from Egypt to Rome, but it would be the same stage, and the entire change of location would be done merely by the words that the actors are saying. Whereas films spend a great deal of money on creating the verisimilitude of place, or actually going to a specific location, and so place is less dependent on imagination. The actors. When we're in the audience, we see the actor's entire body. We see all the actors on the stage. However, in a film, a director can focus our gaze, typically on the face with a close-up, but perhaps on a hand, feet walking. So a particular part of an actor's body can be isolated from the rest of the set. Emotion. Characters must externalize emotion with words. Very subtle facial or gestural expressions of emotion, especially if you're in a large theater, can be lost, whereas film can present emotion in many ways. Raising an eyebrow, which wouldn't be noticed in a theater, can be significant in a movie. The unit of construction. A play is built up of scenes, and scenes occur when actors enter or exit a stage. Film, however, is shot in individual, often very brief segments. Take 1, take 2, take 10, take 20. Reality. The play creates an illusion of reality with words on a stage, but we are always aware that it is an illusion. We are aware of people around us. We're aware of the wood stage. We're aware that these are actors acting. Whereas in film, the illusion of reality is created in a true-looking, visible context. And so, illusion, in a play, the audience is aware of the illusion of artistic creation and willingly gives itself up to that illusion, especially in a good play. In a film, the audience is captured by the illusion, and we are swept up into the illusion. Now, thinking specifically about Shakespeare films and Shakespeare plays, one must realize that the film must not be faithful to the script of the play. The film must reimagine the essence of the play, but in a different medium. And so if a film is too faithful, it can be very boring. And so the success of a film is how well it uses film's resources to tell the story, not how accurately it depicts a stage play. Actors and acting styles are different for film and for plays. Each requires different techniques and different abilities. It's a rare actor who is equally successful on stage and on film. Stage actors must create the illusion of speaking to fellow actors while actually speaking to the audience. And so, if an actor on a stage is whispering to a fellow actor, that whisper cannot really be a whisper. It must seem to be a whisper, but actually be heard by people throughout the theater. Now, the plays as they are written were written for a particular theater, which is why I had you watch Shakespeare in Love. And so Shakespeare's theater, while it was large and had many people in the audience, was nevertheless intimate. All audience members were within 75 feet of the actors. So the actors could speak more quickly and be understood more clearly than in a large theater today. Shakespeare's plays make special demands on actors. The diction is very demanding, and the vocabulary, obviously, is demanding. In addition, many of the lines are written in iambic pentameter, in poetry, in 5-beat, 10-syllable lines. Often when we're reading the plays, we read the lines as if they were prose, forgetting that it is actually written in a highly stylized manner as poetry. And as you know, Shakespeare wrote for an ensemble acting company where one actor played many roles, including women. And so one actor would play perhaps 2, 3, 4 roles in a particular night in the same play. And Shakespeare had to choreograph how the actors would enter and exit and give them enough time to change their costumes and come on in a different role. Shakespeare actually wrote one play that gives a great deal of attention to the art of acting, and that's Hamlet. And Hamlet gives advice to actors when they come to Elsinore. And he says, suit the action to the word and the word to the action. Now, next, let's think about choices that the director has to make. The director ultimately has to decide what approach to take to a particular play that he's receiving from Shakespeare. And so the director has to have a thesis of his or her approach. And so in this course we'll see various directors taking a different approach to a play. And in at least two cases we will see several directors working on one play and coming up with different interpretations. And so it's important to realize that the play will have a meaning to you, and then each film of that play will have a different meaning. It is not merely a recreation of the play that a film director is making. That director has an artistic vision and is creating the play to express that artistic vision. Style often throws newcomers to Shakespeare's movies. A play can be set in a period. For instance, Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet creates the illusion of Renaissance Italy. The same play by Baz Luhrmann takes place in modern dress in, let's say, Southern California or Southern Florida. And the gangs are various Spanish, Hispanic gangs. Swords become guns with the word sword instead of Smith & Wesson written on them. A third approach is an alternative historical period. And Midsummer Night's Dream, the film we're going to see, is set in 19th century Italy, which gives it a remote feeling, but nevertheless modern. And so Midsummer Night's Dream will have actors riding around on bicycles, which were not available to Shakespeare. So each style, each period has advantages and drawbacks. Modern dress obviously is easier for young, inexperienced audiences to relate to. And you can think of other pros and cons of each of the different period styles. Screenwriting. Will wrote his plays to last about 2 hours. He tells us that in one of the plays. But modern speech and acting make the plays last significantly longer. We don't speak as quickly as Elizabethan spoke, and we're used to many more pauses than Shakespeare would have had his actors employ. And so, for instance, the text that we have of Hamlet actually lasts 4 hours, and Branagh's film that you're going to see is about 4 hours long. Now, part of the problem there is that the version that we read of Hamlet is actually put together and made up of several versions that were separate. Shakespeare probably wrote about maybe a 3-hour version. Then he cut it down to about 2 hours, and then a third version is about 2.5 hours. What editors, however, have done is taken all the lines in all three versions and put them all together, and they all add up to about 4 hours. Shakespeare never wrote the version that we read. It's a compilation of the several versions that were printed. In any event, movies have to be cut down to around 2 hours, maybe a little bit more than 2 hours. But contemporary audiences of movies are trained now. If you look at the length of movies, many movies now are down to an hour and a half. And so even a 2-hour movie feels long to a contemporary audience. One of the things that we're going to be doing in some of our discussions is examine what cuts the director makes. And by examining the cuts, we gain insight into the director's purpose. The films that we're going to see all have well-known actors in them. And so contemporary adaptations of Shakespeare's plays are given commercial appeal by the choice of actors. And when the actor is chosen, that part, although it might be small in the actual script that Shakespeare wrote, often become greater in the film. And so when we see, for instance, Midsummer Night's Dream, which stars Kevin Kline and Michelle Pfeiffer, whenever their parts are attended to in the movie, they are expanded. And actually, Kevin Kline, who plays Bottom does have a substantial role, but Kevin Kline's acting of the role and the writing of that part is greatly enhanced in the movie. And finally, other resources that a film director has is the lighting, the music, the costume, and the location. So all of these are important in creating the interpretation that the director makes of Shakespeare's plays. So if you think of the plays that we read as scripts that then the director is going to use and adapt to create a new work of art based on Shakespeare's plays, but different from his plays, that will be the best way of looking at them. Thanks very much. And the next PowerPoint is going